It's Monday, March 1st, and welcome to meteorological, it was a mouthful, spring. Welcome to the first day of meteorological spring, which I had to look it up. I have to be honest about it. It's really the beginning of the next 3 months, which are transition times in terms of temperatures. And I think transition times in terms of the life we've been living for the past year as well, don't you? So we will welcome this springtime in our lives. We are on Psalm 110 this evening, and the interesting thing, well, actually, let me start it this way. I am sure many, if not all of you, are familiar with the Apostles' Creed. In particular, we have the second article of the Apostles' Creed, which talks about, I believe in Jesus Christ. And toward the end of that second article, we always say, and on the third day he rose again, he ascended into heaven, and is seated at the right hand of the Father. That phrase, seated at the right hand of the Father, comes from this psalm. Psalm 110 is a royal psalm. It's also what we call a messianic psalm. And so the psalm looked for a new king to be coming. And this psalm was used a lot by early Christians. It is actually the most quoted psalm, or at least verse 1 of this psalm is the most quoted psalm in all of the New Testament. And so you find Jesus a couple of different places in the gospel mentioning this psalm and being seated at the right hand of the Father. Paul does it a few times in Romans and Ephesians. The writer of Hebrews uses it. I believe I read that Peter uses it in Acts. And so many Christians, particularly early Christians and Christians yet today, see this psalm as talking about Jesus Christ as the coming Messiah, as the new King, the new Messiah. That is, of course, a different interpretation than those who are reading this as the Hebrew Bible or the Jewish Bible. They will not see Jesus in this psalm. Instead, they see perhaps looking backwards, someone like Abraham sometimes is seeing, or Moses, or a king to replace David. This is actually also talked about as a Psalm of David. Again, whether or not David actually wrote it, we don't know, but it is attributed to him. It's a fairly short psalm, just 7 verses, and that's really what it's talking about, is the coming king. And so I invite you to sit back and pray this psalm with me. The Lord says to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. The Lord sends out from Zion your mighty scepter, rule in the midst of your foes. Your people will offer themselves willingly on the day you lead your forces on the holy mountains. From the womb of the morning, like dew, your youth will come to you. The Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. The Lord is at your right hand. He will shatter kings on the day of his wrath. He will execute judgment among the nations, filling them with corpses. He will shatter heads over the wide earth. He will drink from the stream by the path, therefore he will lift up his head. As always, it is a, I would say, traditional image of a warrior king going to battle, winning those battles, taking charge over the enemy. And we can also contrast that with the king that we have in Jesus Christ, who is a king in the most unexpected ways, right? A king who went to the cross. And we, of course, remember that now during the season of Lent as well. And so we contrast the king that Jesus became with the king that was wished for and hoped for hundreds of years earlier, and ponder what that means in the world and in our lives. I hope you have a good evening. Enjoy the warm weather that is coming, and we will be back together again on Thursday.